Hi everybody, this is Jimmy and welcome back to Jimmy Does Knitting. This is my knitting podcast where we discuss a topic and we go from there. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Jimmy Does Knitting. And 50% of my pattern sales for the month of June will be donated to the Ruth Ellis Center in honor of Pride. It's an LGBT plus charity in Detroit. So go and check and see if you like any of my patterns. And yeah, I just got out of the gym. I'm feeling sore, a little tired. The benefit of being unemployed is 9 o'clock gym classes every day. Did a sculpt today. It's wonderful. Yeah, but you don't care about that. It's normally yoga, but today was sculpt. Anyway, the things I want to go over in this podcast, and there will be chapters, and all the information of everything will be below just for your organization. And I will try to get everything all set up for you. So we're going to discuss what I'm wearing. We are going to talk about the Knitting for Olive test call. That was a thing, and I thought that it kind of related to this topic of pride in a way. Not like gross male pride, but we'll get to it. We will go over my wind whistles, my Jockstrap that I'm making, and we will finish off with my modern Mudcloth, which there's a story for that one. So hang in till the end. I swear it's worth it. Let's go over what I am wearing first. This is the Aura top by Rose Knitwear. I'm gonna get up and model it a little bit for you. This is, well, I'll talk about what I did, but it's a bit of a crazy thing. It's just this loose mesh. It's just stocking stitched top. I'm going to style it. It's really simple. I'm going to style it with a tank top underneath or just nothing. It's perfect for me on the 1 week of summer that we get a year to when it gets a little chilly at night to throw this on and I'll be okay. That's how I plan on wearing it. And it was for me a stash busting project. So all of my black fluff yarns are gone now. They are all in this project, and it's a bit of a hodgepodge mess. You can really see it on the sleeve because this is mohair and this is alpaca, and the mohair just wasn't as dense as the alpaca. But I'm not mad at it. I just wanted a quick, easy summer top, something a little gay, and just something that I could wear. So I used up my stash. It's perfect for it. Honestly, it's designed for a more feminine shape. The way that she does it, and I'm not going to really adjust this because my mic is right here, but she has it more high and up with the neck a little bit wider. I would say it is a bit of a wider neck. But other than that, it's nice. It's really comfy. So maybe this Surrey alpaca that I used was something that I'm going to use again after I've sworn off mohair, and I kind of like it. So let's go through this. I used for the yarn, and I can't show you because it's gone, I used 2 different dye lots of Lana Grossa Setasurri, which is the main thing. So the body and the sleeve are different colors. I don't know if it's showing up on camera. So that's why I didn't want to use it for a full sweater, because I would actually have needed to buy a 3rd dye lot of this stuff, and they just don't have really good consistency. So I was let's just have some fun with it and kind of use it up, so to speak. And I used Drops Kid Silk mohair. I had a little bit left in my stash, so now all of that is out. I will not be replacing any mohair. I have some ideas for Setasurri in the future, but that's a if when that happens. It may not even be Setasurri. I think I could use the drop surrey. I just don't like mohair, but I do like the alpaca surrey. So that's just something that I thought of. And for the record, I learned this when I got a birthday present last year. There are different types of alpaca, and surrey is a type of alpaca. And then I have another type of alpaca. I forget exactly what it's called. But yeah, just as an FYI. The garment. The garment is knit in the round from the bottom and then you separate for the armholes, and then you knit the tops flat, join at the shoulders. The sleeves are knit flat and then seamed on. The reason why they're knit flat in this case is because it's a set-in sleeve construction. So what that means, as opposed to like a drop shoulder where it's sort of like a box where the sleeve kind of goes like this shoulder like fits the shape of your shoulder. It's the one that kind of looks like a bell curve, and that really makes it a little bit like better fitting. So that's it. The sleeves are also supposed to be like belled, but I've redone the sleeves. So what I have done to make this fit me and my sort of male presenting body is I've cast on the size 3, which is okay width-wise, and I use that for the stitch gauge. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's like the stitch gauge. And I use the row gauge for the size 6, so that's going this way. And what that did is make it so I could do it with the set-in sleeves. If this were a drop shoulder pattern, I would just totally like almost freestyle it and kind of like stop at the underarm where I wanted to and then knit up. But I had to be more intelligent about it with this. The size 3 would have made this fabric like really up in there, and I did not want that because I wanted it to be like kind of like looser and like, I mean, it's alpaca, so I'm assuming this is going to drape and like not be all up in my sweaty pit, if I'm going to be honest. So that's why I did that. And the row gauge made it so the armhole depth of the size 6 is what I used, so that way the sleeve cap shaping would fit into that, if that makes sense. It was a little bit of figuring out, but basically I did it so I could just get like the yoke longer is what I did, and then the sleeve cap to fit, and it worked. It worked fine. I think that it fits fine. It hits where I want it to hit. So I think that's great. And another modification I did was I didn't do the bell sleeve. I just did a straight sleeve. So what I did is I calculated, I think, the smallest amount of stitches that she had for the cuff, and then the amount of stitches I needed before I started decreasing for the sleeve cap shaping. And then this is not like whatever. So I knit a 16 inches before the sleeve cap shaping, and I think it was like 5 increases, 10 stitches that I did over those 16 inches. That's sort of like roughly what I did to get the sleeves that I wanted. And then I followed the row gauge for the size 6 and the stitch gauge for the size 3, and that's how we got the sleeves. For the record, when you sew in a set-in sleeve, I would recommend starting at the top and then going down either side, and so that way the cap fits nicely, and then taking like another tail of yarn or something and then going down the sleeve, and that will get you a really good fit. First sew up the shoulders and then do that. So that's my set-in sleeve rose knitwear Aura top hack. I really like it. I mean, it feels good. Will I wear it a lot? Probably not, because I live in the Netherlands. It is freezing. Like yesterday was cold and wet. We're in the middle of June. It was cold and wet. I had the heating on, like hoodies, under blankets, everything. Today it's at least sunny. I'm quite cold up here, but I wanted to wear this because this was my finished object, and I'm quite pleased with this. Rose also lives in Amsterdam, and so I'm hoping to maybe one day run into her while wearing this. I think it would be really cool, but not needed. So yes, this is my first gay knit. I always have a thing about a slutty summer t-shirt. This is my slutty summer t-shirt for this year. I need to I've done so much swatching for slutty summer t-shirts, and I have yarn in mind, and I've just never, ever, ever like managed to really get like the right thing. And I think that I need to simplify, and then I need to just go from there. I like a open fabric. It doesn't necessarily have to be lace. Last year I did a drop stitch, but I am so pale that I love like a long sleeve summer t-shirt, not just like a t-shirt, because I don't want to burn. Don't want to burn. Like, give me some giant sunglasses, one of those hats. It's like, I'm off camera, but like huge hats, and I will be perfectly happy with that. So cover me all. And this is perfect. I also bought some linen pants when I was in Spain, and I could wear that with this, and it would be lovely. So, long story, that's what I'm wearing. Let me get my notes, and I will be right back. The next thing I wanted to address, I think, was a good message about inclusion and like different rules of spaces. For those of you that don't know, Knitting for Olive put a test call out for one of their sweaters. They're writing it in they're grading it to a male pattern, and they needed male pattern testers to like see what was happening. And I love that because quite often I modify garments that are made for female sizing just to make them fit me. And I appreciate that Knitting for Olive especially is going more into more male fitting patterns, and that they're going to continue to grow and expand it. So this is their first thing. I think they just put out like a casual Instagram post being like, yo dudes, you want to test this? And like go from there. And the people were thirsty. They were on it. They were like, give me it all. Karen over there in Missouri was like, I have 4 children, 3 nephews, and a triple XL husband. Like, I'm going to knit all of these sizes for you. And like the women were like, I have a boyfriend. I have this and this and this. And it was encouraging to see the enthusiasm, but I felt like the male knitters got a little lost because I don't get to test knit simply because, like with this, I have to modify things so much to get it onto my body that I'm no longer effectively test knitting the pattern. And I think that that's a disrespect for the designer. Now, some make more unisex patterns. Some are okay with just like, you know, if it's like a drop shoulder or a raglan, like extending the yoke or something. But quite often it's just like, I don't think it's appropriate for me to make so many modifications to a pattern and then consider it a test knit. So that's kind of what it was. So I was very excited about a test knit that was coming up that was for male testers. Also, they did give yarn sponsorship, and that was a definite perk because they have beautiful yarns, and let's face it, everybody wants to work with it. So that's just the general rub of like what had happened and why I thought it was an exciting opportunity. And I was a bit disappointed that the male voices got a bit lost in that very hungry women were like, give this to me now. And I wanted to sort of like address it. I'm going to read their statement that they posted, which for English not being their first language, this is very well put. Like, as somebody who is a native English speaker living in a foreign country, when people can put things very well in a language that's not their native language, it's very respectful. So like they get super props to me. I'm just going to read the reaction from Knitting for Olive to this. And I've taken some things out because it's not necessarily relevant, but this is the gist of it. So hold on. It says, Dear everyone, thank you so much for your overwhelming interest in test knitting our Cat Holst sweater for men. The sweater is designed for men. This means that it is designed to fit a male-like body, which is often, but not always, different from a female body, with wider shoulders and more length to it. While the sweater can be worn by any gender, we have specifically chosen to also add men to the team of testers at this time. We have received a lot of messages from women who offer to test this for their partners, sons, fathers, and friends. We really appreciate your interest in test knitting the sweater, and while we know that you could do the job just as well as male knitters who knit for themselves, we have chosen to prioritize to add male testers to this specific test knit, simply because we love to connect with them. Knitting men are a minority in our knitting community, and we would love for them to be seen and heard too. We are new to designing men's garments and have only a few male knitters in our network. We would love to connect with the knitting men and to hear their thoughts on knitwear design for men and give them a voice in a female-dominated community. We will have plenty of test knits available for all genders in the future. So I thought that that was a great acknowledgement about like, essentially saying like, in this case, women, you get a lot of opportunities and you get a lot of more chances than the male knitters. Because we've discussed, male knitting patterns are just not the best and there are not as many of them. And so it's just saying like, thank you, we appreciate it, but like we're really trying to focus on this part of our community and trying to make that like something that we want to leverage and grow. And while, you know, we're not going to necessarily discriminate against you, but we're going to prioritize these other people. And to me, it felt very similar to when straight people go into a queer space. Because I'm not meninist or anything like that. I hate saying this, but men are underrepresented in the knitting community. Everywhere else, we have it's too much. It's too much. I'm going to do that, but like in the knitting community. But what I mean by like it felt like straight people in a queer space is when you're at a gay bar or a gay club, which are dying because these young kids are just like, my friends are all accepting with it, and so let's bring them all in. It's not the case. When I was growing up before iPhones and stuff like that, like a gay bar was really a safe space to explore and grow and like dance to good music and just like not be judged as much. And I think what's really important to realize is like as soon as you walk in that door, the rules have changed. The patriarchy is gone. The rules are different. Like the drag queens are the queens. Like you tip your bartender well. You know, like little twinks go on stage, that's fine. Like the go-go boys belong on the stage by themselves and you tip them well. Like that sort of thing. And then I feel like, especially before gay marriage was a thing in the US, which let's hope that it stays. You know, like these bachelorette parties would come in and they'd touch the drag queen's hair and they'd be like dancing on stage with the go-go boys, which is like not their place. And they'd like not tip the bartenders and they'd be like, you're so cute, I would totally sleep with you. And it's like, thanks, but I really have no interest in you. And then they would like make a mess on the dance floor and like the people who the space is for like couldn't actually like do things like it. And it felt very, I mean, less extreme, but like it felt that sort of vibe. And I just want to say that most Pride celebrations in America are over, but they're ramping up in Europe. And it's like when Pride happens, it's not a chance for you to dress up like fun and like play and like listen to music and wear rainbows and stuff like that. The rules are different. You need to pay respect to the gay people and follow their lead and figure out how to celebrate these people, but also support them and make it into a thing that's freeing, accepting. And then we also need to recognize that Pride was a protest and that things are happening that are not, they're not cool. They're not cool. They're bad. People are doing stupid stuff. And that's not anything that we stand for. So like, you know, people come out in their rainbow stuff and their glitter things, and then they like support these people that do terrible things to the queer community that they love and want to celebrate with. So just, a long-winded answer. It's like, be respectful, recognize that like not all spaces are for everybody. I mean, like they kind of are, but like you have to adjust your position within them and like ultimately give the voices to the people that are being highlighted in the space, and you can support and, you know, join in where appropriate, but I mean, not everything's for you. Anyway, that ramble went on for longer. I hope it was succinct, and I hope that something about that resonated for you. And now back to knitting. And I swear, after this month, I'm going to tone down the politics and keep it about knitting and stuff, but since this is a pride themed episode, I really want to address things like the Harry Potter controversy and these sort of things, just to like bring it to light, because I don't think people are really discussing it a whole lot, and it's important to vocalize some of this stuff. Anyway, next I have my sweater, which is down there, so I'm gonna go grab that. All right, kids, you know what this is. I've been knitting on it for a while. We're almost done. This is the Wind Whistle sweater by Le Garcons. I'm knitting it out of Vovo from Retrosaria Rosa Pumar. It is a sport weight yarn. This is the color 26. It is black. Surprise. And it's a 4-ply. I love this. It's made from the Campancia sheep. Retrosaria Rosa Pumar sources all of their stuff from the Iberian Peninsula, and it's not always merino, and that is fine because this is lovely. I think that, you know, I've knit with some merinos that are less soft than this, let's say. So I really enjoy it. Don't be afraid to explore. Go and do some things. And then here we are. Let's go over the sweater. This is the back. This is the front. I have finished the body. I have finished one sleeve, and we're on the second sleeve. I would like to finish this weekend, actually, if I'm honest, but we'll see. This is a good pattern. It's all over brioche. The yarn is great for it. It feels squishy. It feels nice. I did go down, as I've said before, a yarn weight and a needle size. So it's supposed to be DK on 3.5 millimeters. I'm doing sport on 3.25 millimeters. And I think that I'm getting the exact gauge now that I've knit this up, doing that before blocking. So what I have done is I've knit the 36-inch bust circumference, which was size B2, hoping that it just like grows. Right now it has about like 0-ish ease on me, and I know that it's brioche. It's gonna grow. So I've knit the body a little bit shorter, I've knit the sleeve a little bit shorter, and I'm gonna do it for the same other sleeve, and then we will see what happens. I would like to address some ribbing things. So when you do brioche is like 2 rows per one. What's happened here? Oh, no, nothing's happened here. So brioche is 2 rows per one, or 2 rounds per one like row of knitting, if that makes sense. You have to like do it twice because you're slipping stitches. And then regular knitting is not. It's just like 1 by 1. And because of the fabric that it makes, it cinches in naturally. So I did not reduce a needle size when I went down to the ribbing, because I knew that it would just go a little bit more, which it has done, and I'm quite happy with. What I will say is I've done a tubular bind off, which is my go-to bind off with this, and I had to rip it out because sometimes the yarn is like super loosey-goosey. This yarn I felt was pretty tight when I was doing my tubular bind off, and I just needed to be conscious to be looser with it so I can like get it over my head, and like when things grow it just doesn't like, you know? So that was something to be aware of. The collar I've done, I think it's important to do the collar before the sleeves, because how you knit the collar affects how that sleeve hits, because this part right here between the connection of the sleeve, I guess, it can either go like lower or it can go higher, depending on the collar, but that shifts where the sleeve hits. So I think it's important to do the collar first. I'm just saying that. And I don't think that you should do top, down, and around starting with the collar. You should do provisional, cast on, and redo and like go up to the collar afterwards. Add stability. We'll talk about that next episode. Anyway, so I did that, which, and the sleeve weight also dragged it down a little bit, so it like fits with zero ease like kind of perfectly right now. So we did that. The one thing I will say about this pattern, which there are a couple of things which I think are a little, there is, and I can see it, I don't know if you can, but like somewhere around here was the beginning of row, and it makes the stitch a little weird, where you have to switch. And it will probably block out, but for me, I can notice it, and I think that was a weird place to put it. I understand why based on the construction, but like, I don't know. And then what they did for the underarm is much like a yoke or a raglan sleeve. You have like the body, you separate for sleeves, and then you do the body. And so you pick up for the sleeves, and then there are some stitches that were cast on for the underarm that you can pick up. And what this had you do was leave a long tail so you can pick up the stitches, cast on however many stitches you needed to cast on, and then go from there. So there would be essentially like a hole in here, and then you use that long tail to sew it up. And I didn't like that because I'm just like, let's pick it up properly and do it properly, which I have done, and it looks pretty seamless, I would have to say. You can see, look at my armpit. Lots of armpit discussion today. So I did that, and I just did like a normal type of pickup. And I think the reason why they did that is because I think people have a hard time reading brioche and don't know exactly where to pick up, perhaps. And so by sewing it, they can just kind of randomly do it, and they can get like a solid closure. Also, brioche is quite a fabric, so like, you know, it makes it a little bit less holy, I guess, is why I'm assuming they did it that way. Which I think is fine and good, but I didn't bother. I just picked it up normally and did that. So this is my wind whistles. I also modified the collar. I didn't actually look at the collar instructions, if I'm going to be honest. I just pick up usually like how I need to pick up. In this case, I made sure the knits were with the knits and the pearls were with the pearls, and it was like all even around so that the brioche ribbing flowed well into the collar. I think what you're supposed to do is like a small little collar and then fold it over and sew it down. I just did like a regular collar that was maybe a little bit longer because I like a little bit of a higher neck. And then I did a bind off. So that's what I did for the collar. I mean, it looks like a standard collar. I think that the collar was more articulated in the final version. So that's that. And then, yeah, I've been wanting a brioche sweater for a while. To me, it seemed like it was so in last season. And I just needed to find a sweater and yarn in time to do it. So I'm very excited about doing this. Like I said, it's cold, so I can wear this as soon as it dries, if it ever dries. And I am very much looking forward to getting a coffee and wearing this and being cool. Like I'm not cool. Like I know this. I've given up on being cool. It's just not gonna happen. But I'll feel cool when I wear this, and I think that that's what's important. So this is my wind whistles. It's almost done. It's almost done. And then I can start. I have so much happening coming up that it's insane. And it would be good to get another sweater off the needles and get some stuff moving around, which we will discuss in other videos. Next, I got a little bit of a sexy one for you. So let me get it down there. Okay, so here's the part of the story where I'm a terrible podcaster. And I'm also knitting with color. I'm knitting with this skein of Undercover Otter. The tag is in here for like reference, but I can't get it out without like absolutely destroying the ball. I have no idea what this color is. I have no idea what base this is on. It's like a superwash merino single, it looks like. So, I don't know. Go on Undercover Otter's website. They are, I believe, Amsterdam-based yarn dyer, Aiden, and they have really nice, cool colors. Like cool as in like fun, like hip, like what the kids want in it, sort of thing. So like that sort of stuff. Aiden is non-binary and part of the LGBTQ plus community, so we like to support them. I also purchased this at Stephen and Penelope, which is a LGBT plus owned store. And I can't mention Undercover Otter without mentioning the We Yarn Company. They have some beautiful pride sets. That's Ross, also in the Netherlands. He's in Nijmegen. And yeah, so they're friends, so I can include that. Anyway, I bought this color because I'm pale and I look really good in light blues. Sometimes I get some comments about wearing all black. It's terrible for me. I don't care. This is what I'm doing. It's part of my uniform. This is what we're doing. But when I'm having fun and I'm playing, I'll work with a yarn that I don't typically work with. And so superwash merino isn't necessarily my jam. And also, this color isn't usually what I work with, but it does. I look cute with this. I'm not gonna lie. This is me tan, by the way. I was in Spain for 2 weeks, like a week ago, and like this is me tan. So like, it works. Anyway, I am making a jockstrap out of this. And so my approach to, I'm gonna call it gay knitting, but like gay knitting is just not rainbows, not flags, none of that. It's like slutty, I guess. Slutty, something that I would wear to like the gay club to feel like a little cute, or like something like that, or you know, out to pride and dance and whatever. So I got a little mesh see-through moment where it without a top, you could see all my tattoos. I think it's really cute. And then I'm also making a jockstrap. So this is my swatch. If you want to know how these things knit up, I did this on 2.5 millimeter needles. It's a pretty yarn. And I just have the band for it at the moment. It fits well. I knit one band before. I did like tubular cast on and everything. It was beautiful. It was so big because I did add some negative ease into it, but I did not add enough. I needed to remove like 50 stitches or something like that. So I really like made this tiny. And I did like a stretchy bind off, stretchy cast on. It puckers a little bit when it's loose, but when it's on, it's like perfectly tight. So I did the band for it. Next is going to be like the pouch, I guess. And one of you, I forget the name, Orlando maybe? Sorry, I got your name wrong, but in 3 videos ago, somebody offered some great suggestions on how to do the short roll shaping, so I will be experimenting with that. I will be doing the pouch. I will be, I think, sewing it on with this on me, so it's like stretched to the perfect length, so like the pouch is in the right position and it doesn't like tear when they put it on. And then the idea is for like the straps doing some double knitting and seeing about that. So it's a lot of, I guess, try on and error, which I don't really mind. Part of design is like ripping things out, and when it's so small, like I did this twice within like an afternoon. When it's so small, I don't really mind that sort of thing. So that is the plan. There is a market for people who want to see this modeled properly, let's say, and I don't want to show things to people without their consent. I know sometimes children watch this, which this is not really meant for children. So I don't want to do anything like too crazy, but I also like, whatever. Also, I wanted to keep this somewhat professional because also I would like to like expand knitting and stuff like that. And so there's that. Anyway, I don't know if I'm feeling confident enough to display this in all its foreglory, like modeled, but you will definitely get pictures of this somehow. And we will figure out how I feel about it and my body and what I want to display online, because I'm not always comfortable with all of that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll experiment. We can always shuffle things around. I just am not entirely sure what I'm comfortable with yet. So that's something to watch out for. And I think I'm gonna have a ton of this left over. I can't help thinking that this would be great contrast color for a Dazzle Camel Cap, which is one of my designs. Just get like a solid, maybe like a blue or something, and then have this as the contrast color and just have it be like crazy. I think that would be really nice. I did like a bright yellow and like violet purple mohair version. It was great. So that's something to watch out for, I guess, and we'll see what happens with that. And I have one more. I have a swatch to show you. I meant to have a project for you already, but it didn't happen, and we'll discuss why and my feelings about everything. So let me get that right now. All right, kids. This is why we swatch. So I wanted to make a modern mudcloth, and I'm still going to make a modern mudcloth. It might get pushed back a little bit, so the next episode definitely will not be a Pride episode, but we'll see. And I had this idea of getting this beautiful yarn, which I've talked about, which is the breeds from Wool Dreamers. I forget what breed this is. The Guirra sheep. The sheep is like naturally red. This is mixed with a little bit of merino, so it has this like reddy odie color, I guess. It's quite nice. It's a bit more like fuzzy, I guess. When I spun this up, there was like matter and stuff flying all over. There was also like some more guard hairs incorporated into this. So if you look really closely, there are like just like some dark brown hairs, which I think gives it depth and texture and stuff. And so I wanted to put it with 3 strands of lace weight yarn. So I haven't really seen this for colorwork knitting before, and I wanted to give it a try. And I settled on Holst Titicaca, and I picked these 3 colors. So this is a 100% thin alpaca, 50 grams is 400 meters. So it's lace weight. This is Kindred, but like Kindred. This one is, the brown is Mahogany, and then the green is Lush green. So in my mind, these were the 3 colors to use. And can you see what might be the problem with the swatch and why I don't like it? I think the yarn's actually knitting up beautifully, but I hate the colors together. Like halfway through the swatch, I was like, nope, nope, nope. And I just don't like it. I don't like it. I think, let's see if we can get really close. It's just the red and green is too Christmassy. It's just too Christmassy. I was thinking more like pata, if you're aware of that, or like the African flag sort of thing. And I think it just looks a bit, Christmassy. So I don't like this. I immediately ordered more yarn. And I bought a yellow for this. So I will either go with the main color being this thing, which I think is still really beautiful, and either the yellow, and it's like an ochre yellow, hopefully. I got this from Holst. Holst, I love their yarn. Their pictures on the websites are not color true. They're usually terrible, if I'm going to be honest. Sometimes the yarn shows up and it's a completely different color than on the website. So just keep that in mind. But I ordered another one of the Titicacas in like an ochre color. So it's either going to be the yellow, green, and brown, or yellow, red, and brown, which might bring out the tones of the wool. So we'll see. I'll do another swatch. I don't think I have a lot of extra of this color based on yardages in the pattern. And there's not a lot of purling. Usually with purling, I save a little bit of yarn, but in this case, it's not going to happen because it's top down in the round raglan. So a little disappointed that I couldn't start this and show it to you, but I'm glad that I've done the swatch and that I will do something with it soon. And I'm very excited for the color combo and stuff like that. I will say this is getting too expensive. I try to limit the cost that I pay for things. And what really drove this up was I bought 2 skeins of each of the lace weight colors. So I have 4 lace weights. No, I have 4 different colors of lace weights, which means I have 8 balls at like, I think they were like $8.50 plus shipping or something like that. So like too much money. The breeds was surprisingly affordable. Shipping's a little bit much, but like it was within doableness. So I thought that, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm just going to complete it. I've had this vision. I've been wanting to do this. I really wanted to show off this pattern. I think it's beautiful. And I think that this technique could be really cool. And I haven't really seen anybody else do it. And I wanted to experiment. So we're going for it. It's just like a little tweak. We'll do a quick little swatch. It'll all be all right. And then we can get going. A couple things I want to address is that I bought the sport weight version of this because I think the pattern calls for sport or DK, which I think is a bit nebulous. The Wool Dreamers, I think, runs on like the thicker side based on my previous experience with them. So I figured the sport weight will be somewhere between a sport and a DK. And then what this does is it has this like beautiful natural like fabric on the outside mostly, and then the inside is going to have the stranded color work, which is going to be mostly alpaca. So like the alpaca will be on like your skin and it will be a little bit more drapey, and then on the outside we have this really sturdy beautiful natural wool. So I think that that combination will make for a really nice wearing experience, and it will also give it the structure it needs from working with 3 strands of alpaca lace. You know, you don't want it to be I don't want to do a whole garment in alpaca because it's just gonna, it has a very long staple length, it doesn't have as much elasticity, it's very warm, but those things grow. And I think that this combination is going to be warm for me. It will be beautiful, but it won't really grow a whole lot, which I think will be nice. So this is blocked, swatched. I like the idea of it. We'll do one more attempt and then we'll get going. If not, I'm gonna scrap it. But I think that this pattern does not get enough attention, and I think that this technique is probably pretty cool if you can afford it. And let's try it. So this is a big old experiment with things. And that's what's happening with that. I don't know what's gonna go on from there. Anyway, that is the plan. That's it for the knitting for today. What is going to come up next week is top down in the round garments. That's the theme for next week. It's probably actually not going to be next week. It's probably going to be in a couple weeks because this is one of them, and the yarn's coming from Denmark. I have another thing coming from somewhere else, and I don't have the yarn for it, so I haven't even started that to get, most of a yoke done on 2 sweaters. And when you don't even have the yarn and get it out by next week is not feasible. I think usually it takes about like 2 weeks for Holst to deliver to me. So we'll see where we are when we are. But that is the plan, is the top down in the round sweaters. There might be another video before it. I don't know. We'll see. Another thing that I forgot to mention because I haven't actually done it at time of recording is I have officially put in for like a Ko-Fi account. And the reason why I've done this is I want my knitting to pay for itself. Like I said in the last video, this needs to start making me money, and the first goal is to paying for itself. And I think one of my signatures is sweaters. Like I'm a sweater knitter. I love sweater knitting. I knit all year round sweaters, and that's something I'm passionate about. And if I want to design sweaters, I can't be hemorrhaging money every single time I do a pattern. There's yarn costs. Sometimes yarn is like I can get it for a discount or sponsored. Sometimes I can't. And tech editing fees and like grading, and like those are the hard costs, and then there's my time. And so I would at least like my hard costs compensated so I can make these things and post them and sell them that represent me as a designer rather than just like accessories, because that works. I mean, I will be doing some of those. So I've opened the Ko-Fi for that. There's no obligation to do anything with that. You don't need to tip me or anything, but I'm just trying to make this into something a little bit more viable so we can share, and I can share with you and you can do things with that. So if that's successful, I have a pattern ready to be written up, like it is written up in one size, and then we can get that going and testing. And I have a couple of things coming up, which will be really cool. Some stash busty stuff, some not stash busty stuff. This will probably be end of June. So I hope you all had a wonderful Pride in America, Europe. Get ready. August is going to be crazy. And be nice to other people. Be nice to yourself. Be kind. Be respectful of other people in the spaces that they create. And don't like barge in there with all of your ideas and stuff. And I will talk to you later. I hope it's warm. I hope it's warm where you are. Not hot, just warm. Because that would be nice. And I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.